I've been working on making my first API call, right? I want to be able to log in. Oh, excuse me. Nice big stretch. Anyway, yes, so I went to log in, so I went to make an API call, and I was all set to use this create async thunk. I mean, I've used it before, I've seen it used before, and it seemed like what I was going to use, but I noticed this little guy right here. Redux Toolkit's RTK query data fetching API can eliminate the need to write any thunks or reducers to manage data fetching. So I thought, okay, let me check this out and see if it's really as magical as it sounds. So I decided to give it a try. So to set it up, I created an API file. Now something great about this is instead of creating a whole bunch of different async thunks, I set the base URL here. I set the headers. If there's a token, I set the token, etc. And then I set the different endpoints. All these different endpoints and API calls are in one place. Mutation and query, that's the kind of what you use for like a GraphQL API. So it is kind of imitating that. So then you end up with all these use login mutation, use reset. You can tell I went past the login, right? After I got it set up, I'm like, okay, let's try this. Let's keep trying this. Let's keep doing it. And it really is that easy. Like, oh, let's just add another endpoint and use it. In the auth screen, for example, is where I use the login mutation. So I have login, and I just put in the email and password, and then I get the data back. And it comes with is loading, it comes with error, it comes with is success, is uninitialized. It comes with all these things built in. So that means I don't have to do a separate action for the loading state, for the failure, and the success. So let's see it in action, okay? I even added a little password reveal thing because I put my password in wrong one time and there was no way I could tell, so. Okay, so you see loading here, it's loading, it's pending, and then it just navigated, okay? It worked, yay, it worked. But what just happened? After I pressed loading, it was pending, and is loading was true. So that's what I have done here is the button is in a loading state when it is loading is true, right? So that's working, great. So pending and then fulfilled. If it was an arrow, it would be rejected. My state has two different things. It has the state that I manually set here, which is the token and user. That's the reducer that I created before I even started all this stuff, right? But now I have another item in state, which is the API. And I set it up here in the store. Boop, store. So there was a little setup to do here. I had to set this up. And then here's the auth reducer that I'd created before. And then here's the API reducer here. And then this setup listeners was also necessary. It's because it's caching data as well. Okay, so what happened here? So there's one mutation that happened. It has a key or an ID or whatever it is, request ID. Status fulfilled, endpoint name, login, and then here's the data. Message, auth successful, token, there's my token, user ID. And then, the API returns a password, which I'm gonna have to go in and fix because it's not necessary and it's actually bad practice. Even though it's encrypted, it's still like, no, don't do it. So I have my token and I have my user. And then what I did was, after I got that result, I dispatch set auth data. So that's in my auth slice still, and I set the token and user. So it's working. It's working great, actually. And it navigated because, like in my root navigator, if there's a token, I have use selector to see if there's a token in state. And if there is, then I navigate to home, which is exactly what happened. So, hooray. So far so good. Now I went a step further. I was so excited that I had set this up successfully and that it was so easy that I decided to do even more. Okay, so let's do a query now. Let's get the resources and let's get the subjects. The first one was a mutation, and these are queries. So I'm just using get, right? And there's no body, but I have the user ID here. that I'll pass in. So resources screen. So I get the data, I have error here to do error handling in the future whenever I get to that, and is loading once again. And I have use selector to get the user ID as well because I need to pass that in. So if it's loading, it's just gonna show text loading, and then once it gets the resources, it's just gonna map some text. Let's see what happens. So this is the resources loading, and that has my list of resources, just the title. You know, I just have the resource title here. And then I did the same thing for subjects, has my list of subjects. And that's what I got so far. I haven't handled automatic login, so I think I'll do that next, which means I'm just gonna set my token in secure store. If there's a token in store, I'll be logged in automatically. I also want to add a log out button somewhere. I love having an actual designer so that I can just go to the design and say, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like, and I just make it happen, right? But in this case, it's my own project. I have to come up with my own design. So far, it's okay. That's the next step, is the automatic login and being able to log out as well. Okay, check it out. So instead of doing it the way I once did it, I decided to use Redux Persist to just persist the entire store. And the way I set that up was in the store, and there's actually create secure store with Redux Persist Expo Secure Store. A secure store, that is, it's encrypted, and then Redux Persist to persist store. So this is all a configuration. I separated the reducers out to root reducer and passed that in here, and then created a persister with persist store. So let's just see how it works here. Now there's another item in state called persist. Okay, so I log in, which still works as before. But then if I reload, so reload, that store should be persisted. So see, I automatically logged in here. And then to log out, I just added a little button here. So I press log out. So I did persist purge, and I reset the auth state. So there's no token, no user, no nothing. So I just added an app bar action, handle logout, and this is where I do purge the persister and dispatch a new action called logout, and that just returns the initial state. Yay, so now I can log in, be logged in automatically, and also I can log out. Now, there's all these little things I need to do, like error handling and loading states. For example, for auto login, I don't really want to see the login screen at all. I want to see the splash screen. I suppose adding the ability to sign up would be a good next step, which means this is going to look different because I want basically a landing screen and then two different buttons, login or sign up, and then that will bring you to the respective screens there. So I think that's the next thing I'll work on, is the sign up. So far, so good, learning new things. Oh yeah.